classic seasonal servers to make an early return. Now, people are already, they've been talking about this before. Obviously, we had Fresh Wrath of the Lich King. I would say that was a really big success. And people are now already less than, I don't know, like 2 years after the Season of Mastery, people are thinking about going back to classic World of Warcraft. Here we go.
A lot of interesting things are happening around the same time at the moment, and either I've gone completely off the deep end like that one guy from the meme, or something is about to be announced. And speaking of announcements, here's a quick word from today's sponsor, Factor 75. Factor 75 offers ready-made meals with a difference, combining the convenience of something you can have ready in no time at all, whilst not compromising on quality. Order in a day, a week, or a month's worth of food in one go, and then just wait for it to arrive.
Let me see. That one looks okay. Except for this shit over here. Not a fan of this. Maybe like you get this green shit off of that food there. You get to put all that in the garbage. That'll be okay. And yeah, that's about it.
Factor 75 offers keto, low-calorie, vegan, vegetarian options, and more. All you need is somewhere to heat it up, and the time are written on the box. No guesswork on what you need in, no time wasted shopping, preparing, and cleaning up. More time for what you love doing instead. Factor 75 delivers food fast, which is prepared by real chefs who know how to deliver delicious, no-nonsense food that can be ready in around 2 minutes. Not only are Factor 75
I feel like the meal prep plan stuff is like getting really popular because a lot of these people just like don't have a lot of time to get into that stuff, so it makes sense.
It's full of nutritious and good things, but it's also good for your wallet. And planning ahead will mean there's always something healthy to grab, meaning less reliance on takeouts. Use my link or go to factor75.com and use code POGWILLYNOV60 for 60% off your first box. Many thanks to Factor 75 for the sponsor today. Let's talk WoW.
Yeah,
Season of Mastery is soon enough coming to an end, having begun on November 16th, 2021, with transfers off currently being available. By the way, if you have a character on Season of Mastery, you should go take a minute to transfer it off, or they're going to be deleted. It is free, after all. The forum and Reddit posts lamenting in their nostalgia have started to make a more noticeable reappearance, and there's more of them than I can recall seeing at any point in time in the past. Certainly wasn't anything like this around the time when TBC dropped. Even classic era servers have started anything like more of them than I can recall seeing at any point in time in the past.
I feel like, is this really true? What do you guys think? Yeah. I mean, I really had a lot of fun at the beginning of Classic WoW. But I think that the reason why I had a lot of fun at the beginning of Classic WoW was like also all of the hype around it. The fact that I hadn't played it in like, 15 years or something like that. It was just so fucking badass. But I don't know if you can capture that again because it was like a product of... It's like imagine not jerking off for 15 years and then you do it. And then you're like, a week after that, or 2 years after that, you're like, oh man, I wish I could have that feeling again. There's no way. Yeah, there's no fucking way. It's never going to be the same. That being said, I hope they do a new Season of Mastery. It'll be fun. But, yeah, I don't know if I don't know if it's going to solve everybody's woes and it's going to be the same type of solution to content that it was back in 2019.
Past. Certainly wasn't anything like this around the time when TBC dropped. Even classic era servers have started seeing a small repopulation. Looking way earlier in the year, there would be like 12 or so items on the...
I love how there's a repopulation and now there's 4 people and instead of 1.
Auction house on the supposed big servers. Now there's several thousand. There's people out in the world leveling. There's level 60s logging in looking for things to do. It's not huge, don't get me wrong, compared to Wrath that is, and the era servers will always remain niche due to things such as being fully progressed, no new content, on equal footing for returning players, and so on. But if an environment like that is getting some interest, I think that means something. To top it off, recently we've had a good old reliable leak pop up, claiming,
good.
amongst other things, Ulduar is in early January, but more relevant,
Ulduar in early January. I think that would actually be really good. That's probably really good timing for Blizzard. Good job. Yeah, that's great.
for this video, Season of Mastery Season 2 on November 17th. Now there are one or two problems with this.
November 17th? Isn't that fucking like... That's 11 days before Dragonflight. That's 5 days before right now. Wait, they're not saying... This is 2023 or 2022? That's either 5 days from now or a year from now.
Season 2 on November 17th. Now there are one or two problems with this, such as the spelling mistakes on Frez. Season of Mastery Season 2 just being called Season 2. I always assumed they would go with Season of, insert a new word here. And perhaps biggest of all, as of doing this video, we are about a week out with no announcement, no PTR, and no news whatsoever to build up hype. Saying that, imagine if they just went and changed a bunch of stuff about Classic, that it's dropping on this date, and no player had tried it till launch. Tell me that wouldn't be hype. Maybe Classic would benefit from no PTR, and if it's buggy, yeah, we can call them features, I suppose, the real Classic experience.
I would be totally fine if they just randomly opened a fresh Classic server with a ton of changes, and it's like, surprise! That would be really fucking awesome. The only problem is that Dragonflight's gonna come out in 9 or like 11 days or something after that. That's what the issue would be. Yeah, there's no way that's gonna happen. But it's funny to think about.
On top of that, Dragonflight releases on the 28th of November, though to be honest, I don't know how much crossover there really is between a person wanting to try a second seasonal server of Classic and the new retail expansion that...
Dude, I feel like there's a huge crossover. I think that there's a lot of people that are effectively like MMORPG nomads. And I see them all the time. And they're playing Final Fantasy when there's a new patch that comes out. They're playing WoW when there's a new patch that comes out. And it's like even inside of WoW, they're playing Wrath of the Lich King. They're playing retail WoW. And like, you know, they go back and forth. And maybe they played Season of Mastery before it died. I think that's what a lot of people do now. And I feel like, yes, it's always bad to release two things together. And it's also just bad in terms of like for marketing, right? You want to spread that kind of stuff out to keep people, you know, keep people thinking about you, and you don't want to cannibalize your own events.
Two very different things at this point in time. And whether anything will happen at all, though, it's important that something does sooner or later for Blizzard and the player base, because at some point with us advancing through expansions, Classic will stop being, well, Classic.
It'll stop being Classic right here in Cataclysm. Wrath of the Lich King is the end of Classic. This is my opinion. I think that the game fundamentally changed. There have been 2 points in the in World of Warcraft where the game made a massive transition. The first one was Cataclysm. The second was Legion. Each of these times were massive paradigm shifts, and if they were playing another game, if the Overwatch team was developing World of Warcraft, they would be called WoW 2 and WoW 3. That's just the facts. At that point, like, the fidelity of a lot of the graphics went up, the scope of the game went up, the design principles changed massively. Classic ended at Wrath of the Lich King. That's my opinion.
People are here for more than some nostalgia. I don't know about you, but in my experience, you aren't consistently nostalgic whilst engaging with said thing that made you feel that for several years in a row. I think that's more in the, hey, this thing is actually pretty good territory. And I think at this point we can say Classic has proven far more than just some nostalgia. If that's all it was, the player base would have disappeared a few months after launch. What I'm saying is a lot of people don't like the direction that the retail version of the game went, and we're in Wrath at the moment, which for me already...
I don't even know if it's the direction of the retail WoW as much as just getting into an MMO and keeping up with an MMO that has 15 years of context behind it. A lot of people like starting fresh with everybody else on the same page, rather than seeing somebody with like 17 different mounts that they've earned over 5 different years that are all unobtainable because they were different events that happened in the game during that time. It just you add in so many of these things, and it's just it's too much, I would say. And I think that's what people are really looking for, is that fresh start, that new adventure. It's not even about retail WoW.
It has tons of huge changes, more so than people really attribute to it. Leveling is incredibly easy, you get flooded with loot, multiple raid difficulties and so on. Soon after Wrath is Kata and the Mists of Pandaria, and who knows, maybe even Warlords of Draenor. For what it's worth, I can see them doing Kata, possibly even Mop, but by then, it really is a different game, isn't it?
I think what they should do is they should go and announce the next World of Warcraft Classic expansion. It's Mists of Pandaria. That's right, guys. After we beat the Lich King, we're going to go over to Pandaria. And then finally, after we solve the Garrosh problem over in Pandaria, and, you know, we kill all those guys and, you know, defeat the Thunder King, then right after that, guess what happens? That's right. The Legion attacks. Holy shit. World of Warcraft Legion Classic. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. And just completely cut Cataclysm and WoD out of the picture. They didn't even happen. That's it. It's done. Yeah, they're done. What do you mean, WoD? Like, what time skip? How did Gul'dan come back? Anyway, so yeah. We gotta kill him again.
The Sundering has hit, reworked itemization, leveling taken a backseat to endgame content, and so much more. At which point, if you did want to play a classic version of the game, would you be on Mists of Pandaria, or would you want to see what's happening on, well, classic, as in the very early versions of the game instead? Because for me, so far, the only game like classic has actually been the OG version, vanilla. Don't get me wrong, there's things I like about each of the 3 versions of World of Warcraft we have gone through so far, but classic had by far the best world. Outlander North.
Classic had the World of Warcraft. Burning Crusade had Outland. Wrath of the Lich King had Northrend. However, the reason why it had the World of Warcraft is something that nobody liked doing, is world buffs. So it's a weird paradox where people hate world buffs, but they love the impact of the world in World of Warcraft and Classic. So, like, how do you get both of those? It's hard to say.
End in comparison are small, and I know it's such a stereotype, but
Are there question marks about this? Whoa, wait a second. Are people confused? Wait, whoa, hold up. What's the confusion here? Yeah, no way people are confused, right? Yeah, can you re-clarify? What I mean is that there was an emphasis on going all around Azeroth in Classic WoW. There was much more of an emphasis on the entire world of Azeroth. Whereas whenever Burning Crusade came out, you went from spending your time in different places in Azeroth to spending 90% of your time, 95% of your time in Outland. So, like, you took a you took a game that was this big, right, in terms of, like, geography, and you made it this big. And that's because all the new content was in Outland, so everybody was in Outland. And then Northrend just shifted the Outland thing to Northrend instead. So then you spent 95% of your time in Northrend instead of spending 95% of your time in Outland. Now, obviously, having achievements and a couple of things like that made it easier to go out in the world after Wrath, but, like, it's not really the same thing.
Going from a clueless nub in Northshire Abbey to a fully fledged level 60 adventurer starting on endgame content. Things like the moment when you learn your mount to level 40, learning that big new ability such as Whirlwind, the class quest, the zone hopping for the questing, all of these things were great in my opinion and really built up the world to be something memorable. In TBC, I think building on achievements was a good addition, though I'd have been fine if there was some kind of account-wide key or something of the likes when exalted with various reputations, just so you could do them on alts a little bit easier. And
yeah, I completely agree with that. I hate doing the same thing twice. I don't want to get attuned on 2 characters. I just want to get it on 1 character, make the attunements account wide, make the rep accounts wide. I don't care. I fucking hate having to do shit 2 times.
Wrath of the Lich King for me absolutely clears the other two on moment-to-moment gameplay. Hybrids are more than just viable, mana bars aren't a restriction to gameplay, and there's more to every single class than a single button. I could certainly see myself trying Classic again, but another full year of pressing Curse of Recklessness on a mob, the warriors running and delete in 4 seconds, and me being unable to reach hit cap on my one button rotation till over halfway through the expansion, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm too sold on that actually. Another year of casually leveling the odd character in...
I think that's probably true, and I do think that if they made a Classic Plus like OSRS, I don't know about like the voting on stuff, right? I'm not sure if that would be a good idea or not, but I think an OSRS style Classic server would actually have a lot of like growth potential. There's a lot that could happen with that, and I'd love to see them at least try. I felt like that they were way too conservative with the first season of Mastery. They hardly changed anything. They hardly buffed any of the leveling. It wasn't really that much different. They basically buffed all the things that waste your time, and they didn't change anything that saved you time. They didn't make it any better. It's like you have to do the same raids for the same gear, but they're harder now, and you can't use world buffs. Oh, well, fuck.
Open world, perhaps with some new things to discover, that maybe could work a little bit better.
Yeah.
And please, I hope we don't get the Wrath talents in vanilla. These trees are designed around having 71 points to spend. 51 points would be just as, if not even more restrictive than the Kata trees, as practically every class will have to go all the way down the tree to get their final ability.
Yeah.
But that is just me, and they're not making the game for just me. They're making it for a player base they think will want to play it day in, day out. Remember, Season of Mastery 1 came out on November 16th, 2021, a few months after TBC dropped, and back then it didn't feel like long enough had gone by, but with a whole expansion between Classic and Wrath, I think for many, things are starting to feel a little bit different now. I've said it before and I'll say it again, if they do more seasonals, or when, perhaps it's either a no changes release, fan servers have shown time and again there will be an audience for this, or just go all out with changes, much more so.
Absolutely. I mean, there's still private servers that have massive populations. Like there's Everlook, Warmane, fucking Ascension, what are the other ones? I think those are 3 of the most Turtle, WoW. Like these servers are massively fucking popular. Now, obviously they're not popular in the scope that a Blizzard official server would be popular. But for being private servers that are not marketed anywhere but word of mouth from different players, they are incredibly popular for what they are. So I think that there's a huge community of people that want to play Classic servers.
Than was the case in Season of Mastery, because at the end of the day it's seasonal. There's an expiry date on the server. It's not going to be the be-all end-all for Classic forever, and if you log in or read the changes and think,
I think that's a huge problem, is that you can't tell people it's a Season of Mastery and at the end of it their characters are going to be deleted. I think that you have to expand beyond Classic. Like you have to relaunch the game and then have the game grow beyond that.
I don't like this, you just don't have to play it because the next season might fit you a little bit better. But I think clearly there's a ton of interest and players wanting to be given a solid enough reason.
Because like seasonal servers and stuff like this, you think about it, what games do seasons? I think the best comparison of a game that does seasons is like either Diablo 3 or Path of Exile. They're not MMOs, but MMOs don't usually do seasons. So for the closest thing is an ARPG. What is the prep time that you need to level up and get everything done in Path of Exile or Diablo 3? Effectively 2 or 3 days. For a maybe the majority of a week for a first-time casual player. Max 4 hours? Maybe for 4 hours. 4 hours in Diablo 3. Yeah, Path of Exile is a bit longer unless you're speed running it or something. So, again, it's much shorter period of time. Whereas for like Season of Mastery, it would take days of slash played for an average player to get to 60. This is just simply, people are not going to invest that amount of time in something that's just going to disappear. That's why you can't do seasonal. There's too much barrier to entry to enjoy the new seasonal content.
Go and try Classic again. With Era slowly growing, people beginning to reminisce on Classic, we just need that little push to get excited about it again. And for me, hopefully something bigger and better than just the word fresh thrown about. All in all, I hope that time and effort is put into a good Season of Mastery 2, or whatever they call it at the beginning. I am really liking the content in Wrath at the moment, but the longer we go on with current expansions, the closer to retail we get, and the closer to changes which turn many people away from the game in the first place we get. The whole point of Classic and the seasonal servers is to offer a different experience and protect the design pillars Blizzard have described some time ago around the world being important, protecting social engagements and so on. It's already been 3 years since Classic dropped back in 2019, and picture this, in another 3, at this rate, we'll probably be doing dailies on the Isle of Thunder. Classic and seasonal servers may all be in the past, but I think they're also going to be an important part of this game's future. That's everything today.
I think seasonal servers are really, really important. And the more that you have seasonal servers and making them good, I think that would be great. You just can't delete the characters. If you delete the characters, people don't want to make the characters, I think, because MMOs are about investing in making a character that you care about and developing it over a period of time. I just don't think you can delete that and just be like, oh, okay, well, do it again. Do the exact same quests again without any sort of real crazy nuances. Like, no, man, like, that's fucking boring.
You know your thoughts on it all, whether you're looking forwards to a Season 2 or whether that is all in the past for the time being. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one very soon.
Yeah, I think that was a good video. I mean, again, I think that people want a lot of changes to Classic WoW. That's my opinion. I think that's what people want. I'm not sure about it. Obviously, I'm not a mind reader. But I think that a lot of people are looking for massive, big changes to the game. You want to play a crazy new server. And I do think that they should keep making the game and then take these huge chances. It's like the last Season of Mastery was terrible anyway. It was dog shit anyway. So, I mean, why not just do it? I mean, you don't have anything to lose. Like, I mean, like, what's the point? What's the point of trying to be conservative with something that you're already losing in? Take some chances. Basically, what you're saying is remove all gear and in-game progression, but keep levels and quests. I think they're just a chore to do over again. No, I think that what they need to do is they need to have a seasonal... this is not really a good way to say it. I think they need Classic Plus. They need to take a lot of these seasonal changes and then implement them onto a server that continuously progresses beyond Naxxramas. It continuously progresses into new raids, new content, and effectively World of Warcraft functions the same way that OSRS does. Because people have played OSRS for years, they've developed a character, they've built that character up, and their investment with that character is so important. So you don't want to make people feel like the character that they're investing into, farming all of these reputations that don't matter on, is just going to get deleted. The reason why people do that kind of stuff is because it has lasting value. They can complete this and have that thing done on their character functionally forever. So that's why, I think. And so, yes, saying it's seasonal servers is kind of not a good way to say it, but I want Classic Plus with a ton of changes. Let's read some of the comments here and see what other people think. I think whenever people say for Wrath talents is not necessarily clone talents, but the ideas behind the trees. Well, Wrath talents and Wrath class design is just better than... It's the best of all three. Like, I feel like every class plays better in Wrath of the Lich King than it did in Burning Crusade or Classic. And I think the people that disagree with that are people who are playing an overpowered class and now their class isn't quite as broken. But overall, I think the classes play better in Wrath than at any other time in the first 3 expansions. So I felt like in general, in Wrath of the Lich King, the classes felt finished. Like they had finally finished the classes, everything was done, and it was good. Let's see this. Fresh vanillas are so dang fun. The initial grind from 17 to 18, just do your first Dead Mines run, it's pure sex. I mean, I don't know about that kind of stuff, like grinding the same quests, running around, not being able to do quests because you're like 2 levels under them, and then you have to go to some other zone that's like an hour away, so you can do 2 quests over there, and then you come back to do 3 quests over here. I don't think that's super fun. I think that's fucking annoying, and people are willing to do that for Classic once, but I don't think that most players are going to put up with that again. It's just annoying and it's a waste of time. So I'd like them to get rid of that kind of stuff, but actually just keep the content quality. Josh Drive Hayes' new video about fresh servers. Yeah, maybe I'll watch that one. I transferred my season mastery to era once. I got 60 and my guild's plan all along. Finally get to raid in vanilla. Well, that's great. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that still, you know, it's like people always feel like they missed out on Classic. It's the same as some people feel like they missed out on New World, right? Whenever it came out, and that's why they're playing the fresh servers in New World. It's very evident that playing fresh servers is very appealing for a lot of people. Look, this is so fast. I need WoW to get seasonal servers right. Well, that means they need to take some chances, and that's what they haven't done so far. Whenever they first start taking chances, then they'll actually start doing them. Lily's come out with some really good fucking videos recently. You guys should give him a sub and give him a follow. Yeah, I've really liked these videos. These videos are fucking amazing, man. These are great.